This is Eric L. Dunavant, the Mindset Disruption Strategist. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Redefining Success. Joining me today is Charles Reed, President and CEO of Get Payroll, a Marine Corps veteran and author of the book, The Payroll Book. And I think we're going to have a good time and a good visit today. I can already tell because, Charles, I had a time to go spend some time on your YouTube channel, and your Star Wars video had me cracking up. So anyone who can put out can tie Star Wars, payroll, and tax together is a great interview. So I just want to thank you for being here.
The voice of Darth Vader.
You were?
I was the Darth Vader voice.
I love it. I love it. I didn't have a chance to watch the other videos, but it looks like you've got a pretty creative team that works on your behalf there. So
My videographer, and he is very talented.
that's great. That's great. Charles, my first question is always, it's a beautiful Saturday afternoon. We're hanging out in my backyard. I've got the burgers and hot dogs on the grill. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to my friends here who are in my audience.
Hey guys, I'm Charles. A little bit of background. I'm a Midwestern boy. I grew up in Iowa. Finished high school at 16, wasn't ready for college. A few months later, joined the Marine Corps, spent 4 years, 2 years overseas, combat tour in Vietnam. Came back to Kansas City where I was stationed. When I came back, met my wife, Ruth, married her. She had 5 kids when I married her. I claim insanity, but we were married for 45 years before she passed.
Oh,
Good marriage.
yeah.
Not perfect, but it was a good marriage.
Yeah.
Anybody who tells you you've got a perfect marriage lies about other things. Realized business didn't value my military experience then as now. They just don't understand what military brings to the table in terms of experience and discipline and mission and so on. So I figured I'd have to go get my credentials. Went and got my degrees, BBA, MBA. Sat for and passed my CPA exam while still in college, in grad school. Went to work for Texas Instruments. Yeah, right. Okay. They're an engineering company. They don't value accountants either. So spent 15 years in the corporate world.
Okay.
Finally realized I was never going to run a major corporation. Didn't have the political skills. Unwilling to stab people in the back and toss them off the ladder. So if I was going to run a business, I'd have to start my own like my father did.
Yeah.
So over 30 years ago, Ruth and I started our own business, mobile accounting service and practice with a payroll built in. About 10 years ago, I sold off the accounting portion to my partner, who I'd taken on over the years. And now I just have a payroll company, payroll and payroll related services for small and medium-sized businesses around the country. Having a great time. So if any of you friends of Eric need payroll, give me a holler. Here, let me give you my card.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we're here for. Tell me what are you passionate about?
About helping my clients. The IRS is a huge monolith. And contrary to popular belief, the IRS makes millions of mistakes every year, all the time. It's 100,000 people, all civil servants, no profit motive, no customer service motive. They're not bad people. Yeah. For the most part, they're all mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters. They're nice people. They have a civil service job. They work hard at it for the most part. They're reasonably nice people, but they're not motivated the same way we are in business. And they make mistakes, and they're not motivated to correct them because you can't go to some other tax service to pay your taxes.
Right.
They don't have any competition.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're going to be in business, or you're going to make an income, or you're going to make a living in this country, you got to deal with the IRS. It's like the old Lily Tomlin routine. We're the only phone company in town, and don't you ever forget it. So we're huge on compliance. We make sure our clients stay in compliance, but when the IRS screws up, or occasionally when our clients screw up, we get to fix it. And we're really, really good at it. I've spent more than 30 years doing this. It's the reason I became a U.S. tax court practitioner, which allows me to represent my clients in tax court, even though I'm not an attorney. There's only a few hundred of us in the country. It's a rather difficult process, but it was worth it. So I can solve problems for my clients that my competitors can't or won't. I'm a CPA, so I take a Form 2848 limited power of attorney, which allows me to advocate for my clients directly with the service.
Right.
Now, I tell my clients, don't talk to the IRS. Let me talk to them, because you'll get emotionally involved and you'll say things and you'll yell at them and so on. This got brought home to me hugely last year in the middle of COVID. The IRS screwed up on my taxes. So being the expert, I called up the RO, the revenue officer, and was explaining to him how they'd screwed up. And he wasn't having any of it. And I found my voice getting louder, and I starting to yell at him over the phone because he's being a real butt about the whole thing. In the back of my mind, I'm going, Charles, don't do this. It's not helping. And I told him what he was doing wrong and explained to him what the IRS manual said and what he had to do. And he said, no, he wasn't going to do it. And I pissed him off. And then he went further and took some additional steps that he should not under any circumstances have done, but he did them. So it took me about 3 weeks to get a hold of his boss because of COVID. Nobody's in the office. And his boss said, no, none of that should have happened. We'll take care of it. And it all went away. But it really brought home, don't talk to the IRS. Let the professional do it, because when it's not my money, I don't get emotionally involved. Right. Okay. So that was a real eye opener in some of my own shortcomings.
Absolutely. I get it. I can imagine. I mean, coming out of the military, you worked for Texas Instruments, but then you and your wife decide to start your own. Did you start out with was it a payroll CPA company that you started in the beginning?
It was a mobile accounting firm. I left Penny's and gone to work. I was looking for a job in my attorney because I had a contract dispute with Penny's. Knew the people over at Financial Express. They needed a COO. Okay. So I went over there, and the board was after the company to sell off the original office. So I bought it. It was a franchise. Okay. A year later, the franchisor went belly up, and we just changed the name and kept going. Sure. But it was a mobile accounting service with payroll built in. So that's what got me my real big exposure to payroll. Obviously, having been in business, I'd been around payroll and made payroll and worked with payroll service bureaus in the past. And so did a lot of tax, a lot of accounting, and that got boring after, 20 years. So I decided to just stick with the payroll and sold off the rest of it. But it was a great experience.
Yeah. What were maybe some of the hardest lessons you learned? Maybe it was in the early years, or maybe kind of along the way that you're like, you started headed in one direction with your business, or you're doing some things. It's like, oop, that's not a good idea. Let's try something else.
Well, we had a number of those things that we thought we could do this, and it didn't work out in marketing. I realized here a few years ago, I can't market my way out of a paper bag when I finally hired a marketing manager. So I made some missteps then. And then, excuse me, there were a lot of technological changes, fax machines, emails, all these things that we started out as a mobile service. Within a few years, we got rid of the mobile because technology had just made it no longer necessary. Because you could get all the information electronically. So that was a major change in how we did business. And frankly, ended up selling the vans that we had for the mobile service, which was a real component to start with. Moving from being a franchisee to just a sole operator was a whole different operation too. Whole new mindset, nobody to help you. You're kind of on your own. Obviously, you think you're an entrepreneur, you're going to get to have a lot of freedom and be able to do a lot of things and so on. I was on a panel here a couple of years ago, and they asked me about work-life balance for an entrepreneur, and I cracked up. I just started laughing. I said, for a new entrepreneur, there is no such thing as work-life balance. It's work, period.
Yeah.
80, 90 hours a week, just live with it. At some point in time, maybe you'll get a vacation. It took about 10 years for me, but excuse me, I'm still getting over my COVID.
Oh,
Came down with it a couple of weeks ago.
Oh.
So yeah, there's a lot of changes and then a lot of adaptation when we moved into the internet. We were early in the internet for payroll. That was a major change. We're national.
Yeah.
Most of our 4,000 competitors are local in all the various areas of the country. There's only a double handful of national firms. We're one of the smallest of them, but we're a national firm. We've got clients in 47, 48 states currently.
Yep.
So we got into that early. We were the first green payroll. That was a thing back in the 90s, and we figured out how to do it as a green payroll and save the trees. We always try to innovate. For instance, last week we announced we're the first payroll service bureau in the country to offer crypto payroll for our clients and their employees, where they can get part of their pay as Bitcoin.
Yeah.
We have a Bitcoin savings arrangement set up through a bank and other people, and so they can actually get paid in Bitcoin.
Wow.
We like to do those kind of things. We like to be cutting edge.
Yeah.
So, but also one of the big things that really changed me was I was having trouble with the firm, with employees, with a lot of things. And a good friend of mine gave me a book, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber.
Yeah.
And it taught me how to work on my business, not in my business.
Yes.
Because I was ready to fire everybody and be a sole entrepreneur and take it back to the game room.
Yeah.
And that book saved my business and allowed me to continue to grow. And it does to this day. I buy it by the dozen and give it out to clients, literally, who need it.
Yeah.
That was a major, major step in my life, is learning not to be an entrepreneur, but to be a business owner. Okay. I don't need to buy myself a job. I need to work on the business and make it successful. My biggest job as CEO is not to do the work. Now, I still do some of the very complex tax work and employment tax and legal work, because that's my expertise. They don't let me do payrolls anymore. I got a staff for that, and they're much better at it than I am. By all means, my job is to make their life easy and efficient.
Yeah.
The more efficient they are, the more money we make.
Sure.
The easier it is, the more efficient they are. So my job is to make their job easy, and they appreciate that, and my clients appreciate it. So
yeah,
it's a good life.
That's fantastic. One of the things that you said, and I think I saw in one of your interviews, I'd love to explore just a little bit, is this idea, you were a veteran coming out and trying to find a place, and you were saying that kind of the workplace not really valuing as much the things that you learned in the military. What are some of the most valuable things that you've learned that not only you've kind of brought into your business when you look to hire veterans or bring them in, but you also encourage other business owners to look at the value of our valuable veterans that are out there?
The Marine Corps teaches leadership, and I've boiled it down, and there's lots of ways to find, but in the Marine Corps, it's mission, men, self. Mission comes first. You have a mission, you accomplish it, whatever it takes. Our mission in our business now is to deliver payroll 100% accurately, 100% on time, every time. Our clients appreciate that. So mission is first. You do whatever it takes. You bend over backwards, you work late, you work early, you work weekend, you do whatever it takes to accomplish that. Then you take care of your men. Make sure that they're happy, they're fed, they're warm, whatever. This was brought home to me by a young lieutenant. I was in guerrilla warfare school in northern Okinawa, and we'd been out in the field. It's a couple of week course. We'd been out there about a week, hadn't had a hot meal. Finally got a hot meal delivered out to us. The lieutenant made sure that every one of us got fed before he got his tray of food. Oh, he took care of his men, then he took care of himself. I have seen a number of businesses over the years ruined by ego.
Mm.
I had one boss who about once a year would take us all outside and point out the fact that it was his name on the building. Actually, it was his father's name. He inherited the business. And if we didn't like that, we didn't need to come back in. Now, that was really motivating.
Yeah, I bet.
Okay.
Yeah.
His ego got in the way. It destroyed his business. I left finally, and less than 6 months later, he was bankrupt.
Wow.
It was all ego. He let it destroy his own business because it was just, he thought he was better than the rest of us, and he wasn't.
Mm.
And so I've always wanted to write the book, Park Your Ego at the Door, because it just destroys businesses. You can't be that way. So the military teaches you, let your ego get in the way of your men or your mission. It has to be subordinated.
Yeah.
Pure and simple. So if mission men self works in business, works in the military, if you take care of your clients first, make sure they're happy, then take care of your people, then whatever's left over. So, if you've got a short paycheck, you short your own.
Yeah.
If somebody has to work late, particularly in the beginning, it's you. Those are the things you do. And you hire the best people you can, always. And you give them the tools and the authority and the responsibility, and hold them to it, and train them. But, if you think you're better than everybody you hire, you're stupid.
Right. Well, I mean, why do you, and go back to, I don't remember exactly where it is because it's been a while since I've read Gerber's book, but I mean, the entire idea is to learn to get people to do the things you shouldn't be doing. So, if you can't think of them more valuable than yourself, then you've missed the point of getting out of your own business, getting out of your own way,
I mean, you start as an entrepreneur, sole entrepreneur, you wear all the hats.
Yeah.
You obviously want to move those off to people who can wear them better than you do.
Right.
It's not important to be the smartest person in the room. The trick is to hire the smartest person in the room. Okay. Hire people who are better at things than you are.
Yes.
Stop yourself with expertise.
Yes.
Michael, my videographer, I can't do what he does.
Yeah.
Anash, who's my marketing manager. When I hired my first marketing manager, I learned within 2 weeks that I really couldn't market my way out of a paper bag. Okay, that was one of my biggest mistakes, is not hiring that person a lot sooner in the business, because I thought I could do it. Well, I couldn't, not effectively. So that was my ego talking, and I should have listened to my own verbiage. So, there's a lot of things. Now, I will say this: the military also has some things that you don't want to carry over. Military is extremely hierarchical. Everybody is either subordinate or superior. Everybody. Marine Corps is 200,000 people. I knew exactly who was superior to me and who was subordinate to me. And if I gave somebody subordinate to me an order, they were to obey it, whether they liked it or not. That does not translate well to business.
Right.
Thankfully, my wife was a real people person, and she broke me of a lot of that early on. And you can't treat your kids that way either.
Right.
And, my father tended to, he was a Navy officer. So I had to unlearn a lot of things about hierarchical arrangements. And my wife was a wonderful teacher. She was a people person. Everybody loved Ruth. Even people she didn't care for thought she was their best friend.
Yeah.
The biggest question she got in her life was, why did she marry a schmuck like me? But, it worked for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Charles, so how long did you and your wife do business together?
We started in 91, and she died in 15.
Okay. She worked in the business the whole time.
She worked with me heavily for about 6 or 8 years, then moved off to build the house and some other things. But, the kids were already grown and out of the house. So it was business.
Yeah.
She was my best advisor and my sounding board. And, was always part of the business, was up here on a regular basis until she had her first stroke.
Hmm.
And even then she'd come up in her wheelchair. So she was always part of the business.
With that said, I want to ask you about this because, again, the name of this podcast is Redefining Success. So one of the things that I find that a lot of business owners try to do is they try to compartmentalize their life. So my marriage sits over here, my business sits over here, my spirituality sits over here, my faith sits over here, rather than what I found for a lot of business owners is it's really not compartmentalization, it's integration. I would love for you to share maybe just a few lessons that you and Ruth learned together, and maybe probably some humility she taught you as she's teaching you the people side of running this business.
Well, she was my HR. She vetted the people for hiring, and only once did I go against her. And I regretted it because the person was a thief. Ruth said, don't hire her. And I did. And I regretted it. So I never did that again.
Yeah.
But one of the funny things is working with your wife, because, you know, when they say happy wife, happy life, you know, and, you know, man who say master known house also lie about other things. So, you know, it was yes, dear. And I love my wife and went along with a lot of things. But when it came to business, I was the professional. She wasn't. She had made her career in the food service industry. So when it came accounting to tax, it was all foreign to her. So I had to make decisions, and I had to say, no, it has to be this way. Well, so we had to separate out our marriage and our work relationships. And one of the problems with was we'd go home, and obviously it was still business, and we'd have dinner, we'd get ready for bed, we'd get into bed, and she'd have one more thing to get off her chest, one more problem she wanted to talk about, and she'd tell me about it, and she'd roll over and go to sleep because she didn't have to worry about it anymore. And I'd sit there until 2 or 3 in the morning worrying about, you know, thinking, well, what do I do? How do I have, you know? And so we finally came to an agreement after dinner.
Yeah.
For some very late dinners occasionally.
Sure.
But we held to that pretty much, because other than that, I didn't get any sleep.
Oh man. What tell me about what led to the book. So you got the book, the payroll book. What led you to write the book?
There's nothing out there. I get questions all the time, and I have to send things to clients and show them how to work and quote the law and explain things. And the only similar thing out there is the payroll source from the APA, American Payroll Association, and it's like $600. They're very proud of it. It's really designed to train people to become certified payroll processors, designation in the payroll industry. So I said, hey, why don't I write up a book? It'll be a, you know, something I can hand out. It'll give me some publicity. 2 years.
Yes.
Very hard work. It was far more complex than I thought. I was very lucky. A publicity company that I work with, who's also a client of mine, knew the people at Wiley and called her contacts at Wiley, and Wiley picked it up. And he's obviously one of the big publishing houses in the country. And the help they provided made it a much, much better book than it would have been, because they provided design, they provided editing, layout. You know, they said it would be so much for the index. And I said, oh, I can do that. I'll get some software and do it. After 3 days, I called them and said, hey, can you still do the index? And they said, sure. I said, please. And so the index is just, I look at the index, I go, wow, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done that, and I couldn't have. So it turned out to be a much, much better book. Now, do I make less money because of that? Sure.
Yeah.
The book was never about money. The book was about producing something that, it's my business card. I hand it out all the time. In fact, I'll offer all your listeners a free copy if they like.
Yeah.
If they'll go to the payrollbook.com, enter the discount code podcast and their information, as long as supply lasts, I will ship them a free book. No
Oh,
shipping, no handling, no nothing.
Fantastic.
For your listeners, discount code podcast, thepayrollbook.com.
Okay.
So, but it's for my clients. I I have an electronic version. I clip and send things all the time to people. Well, what about this? What about that? I say, okay. And I go on Quora and I answer questions and I literally clip out a piece of the book and post it. I have all that info. It's 30 years of wisdom distilled down to 95,000 words.
Wow.
So
wow.
It was a lot of work, and very proud of it. I bet it's a very useful book. It also one side note for it: if you have insomnia, it's a cure.
If you can't sleep, get a copy of the book.
You can't sleep, pick it up, flip to any page, start reading. It'll put you to sleep.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. What are maybe a couple of things that people, small businesses who are trying to maybe do their own payroll, or even they've got a payroll service, what are the top maybe 2 or 3 mistakes that you see people making, or that they don't, the things that they don't realize? Here's the better question. Most people don't know what they don't know. What's they don't know about payroll, about finding the right payroll service?
Well, first of all, for us, it's compliance. I mean, most of our competitors do a reasonably good job of preparing a paycheck.
Yeah.
But when there's a problem, you're screwed.
Yeah.
But as a small business person, as a new business person, particularly, people think, well, I can just pay them as a contractor. Oh, there's a whole body of law about that, and you don't get to choose, and neither do they. If they say, well, just pay me as an independent contractor, send me a 1099, they don't get to make that choice, and neither do you. And there's a whole body of law, and there's a big chapter in the book on it, and so on, that you have to be very careful about that, because 70% of U.S. businesses misclassify workers either as independent contractors versus employees, or subject to overtime or not subject to overtime. That's straight from the Labor Department. 70%, more than 70% of companies do that. And doing it wrong can be very, very expensive. The IRS is not known for saying, oh, okay, you did it wrong, just fix it. And, no, there's penalties and interest and nasty grams, and they'll put you out of business. They'll come lock your door and all kinds of things. So they're not somebody to screw with indiscriminately.
Yeah.
Now they said they make lots of mistakes. Let me give all your viewers a tip.
Yeah.
IRS cannot penalize you for a simple mistake. It's written into the law. They can't do that. It has to be gross negligence. Now, the problem is negligence is nowhere defined, so it's up to the IRS to determine whether it's gross negligence or not. And guess what? To the IRS, there are no simple mistakes. It's all gross negligence. But if you've made a simple mistake, they can't penalize you. Now you have to bitch, and you have to fight for it. And you may spend, I've spent as long as 9 years fighting a penalty and won. So you always object to it. You ask for an abatement, you appeal. It's almost interminable, the levels you can appeal it to, all the way up to and including, in some cases, tax court or U.S. District Court. And if it's big enough, do it. Now, I will say this, if it's $10, just pay it.
It's
not worth writing the letter. Discretion is the better part of valor. Just pay it and move on. Frankly, we get some of these for our clients, $7, $10, $8. We just write the check ourselves. It's not worth writing the letter or explaining to the client why we're not going to write the letter. It's just cheaper for us to just say, send the $7 to the service and forget about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Charles, is there anything that we did not get to talk about that you wanted to make sure you were able to share with my audience today?
Well, success for myself has changed over the years.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it was monetary, obviously. I thought I'd make a lot of money. Well, I've done okay. That's not success. Success is not monetary. Success is not making money. Success is being hopefully happy, but at least content in your life. And I've learned that though we're still growing, growth is not the end all be all. I enjoy coming to work. I'm 72 now. I enjoy coming to work every day. I enjoy my staff. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy my clients. It's fun. My staff wonders, Charles, when are you going to retire? And I tell them, one of these days you're going to come in and find me dead at my desk. I've retired. Okay. What my wife passed. What am I going to do? Sit home? I spent a week on COVID quarantine. My God, that was boring sitting at home for a week. Okay. So no, I enjoy what I do. You find a job you love and you never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
I've been at this for 30 years. I'm very, very good at it. And I learn more every day. And that's part of success is to continue to learn and getting better at it. So success gets redefined over your life. And it's not monetary. Monetary is just being rich doesn't make you happy. It does solve the problems of being poor, but it doesn't make you happy.
Right.
So, if you can find something you like to do, jump at it, enjoy it. I have a great time doing what I'm doing. And could I make more money other ways? Probably. But could I have as much fun? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. You said one question I do want to ask you. Define, so with this lesson that you're learning, define what you've kind of found contentment to be. What does that mean?
People working for me, clients. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the fight, Internal Revenue Service in the States. I enjoy that. Okay. Because it's not personal. When it's personal, I get upset. Right. But it's a game. It's like playing high stakes poker with somebody else's money. And I enjoy it very much. It allows me to be competitive, to fight with a monolithic operation like the IRS and win on a regular basis. And that's fun.
Yeah.
So I make a nice living. I've got surrounded by nice people. No jerks. I don't hire jerks.
Yeah.
Okay. That's comes from Berkshire Hathaway. I don't hire jerks. I hire nice people. So what more can you ask for? You're surrounded by nice people. You're doing something you enjoy. You get to get your competitive juices flowing periodically. You make clients happy, and you make money. Lord. Other than having my wife back, can't get much better than that.
That's a pretty good life.
I miss her terribly, of course.
It sounds like it. Yeah, I can only imagine. And I'm sorry, but I can only imagine. So I've told you this was coming. I'm intrigued by your answer. So in 3 generations, what do you hope your great grandchildren remember about you?
I don't expect them to remember me at all.
Really?
Okay. Marcus Aurelius. Soon you will die, and you will be carried to the graveyard, and shortly thereafter, the people who carried you will be buried as well. You live a good life. You're upstanding. You're morally correct. You help people. You live the best life you can, and afterwards, it's up to God. Not worried about a legacy that doesn't, I don't care. It's a time, but I don't care anymore. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is that I live the best possible life I can. And if I'm remembered in the future, fine. If I'm not, fine. It doesn't matter.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Charles, so To get tell my audience again, to get a copy of the book, where do they go?
thepayrollbook.com.
Okay.
Enter the discount code podcast, the information, and as long as the supply lasts, I'll ship a free book.
Fantastic. And then you need to go on YouTube to Get Payroll. Look their channel up. I'm sure you answer a lot of questions there, but I had a good time just looking around. It was a lot of fun.
There's a lot of educational videos as well, but there's a bunch of fun ones. Please subscribe to the channel.
There you go, right? Subscribe and hit the bell so you get notifications when Charles uploads.
Exactly.
Charles, thank you so much for being on. If anyone wanted to kind of follow what you're doing, is YouTube kind of the best way to do that? What's the best way to kind of stay in touch with what Charles Reed is doing?
Well, if they will just email us, we'll add them to our mailing list, and we'll drop them an email several times a month about changes in the payroll industry and the new videos we do and the payroll news and our blog and everything else. So just drop me an email, CJR at Get Payroll, and we'll add you to the list and we'll market to you forever.
So thank you so much for being here. It was so good to get to kind of tell your story and introduce you to the audience. I hope everyone will go and get a free copy of the book, at least to cure your insomnia. But I think we all could probably use some payroll wisdom. So Charles, thank you so much for being here. Everyone, thank you so much. I'll be back again next week. God bless you. Have a fantastic day.